Welcome to Unlocked. I am so excited because we have my best friend Chad on today. Welcome.
Hello, hello.
Y'all, I'm so excited. Okay, so Chad, how long have we known each other?
For like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
And he knows more than I think any human being knows about me. And
Or should possibly know.
yes, more than he should possibly know. And we're going to keep it that way, that he's the only one that knows those things. You may get a few little juicy things, but watch what you say.
I will watch what I say. I'm not going to unleash the demons today.
Not today. He will always be on my good side.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited just because this is a time for you guys to get to know me better and for me to introduce the really important people in my life. So, Chad, where do we begin? Where are you from?
Well, I'm from Batesville, Mississippi. Actually, Curtis Station, population 50. 25 of them's my family. The other 25 are probably my cousins down the line. But I've been in Nashville since 2005.
Okay. So
yeah.
Chad's a good old Southern boy, y'all.
I am.
And two, can we clear the air about one thing before we get started?
What?
We are not dating.
Yeah, please, y'all. There is literally not a lick of love interest here. And I literally mean a lick of love interest, okay? I mean, in that way. We're strictly platonic. I mean, I love her exactly like a sister.
Exactly. And two, there's just, y'all, I literally, I walk around naked in front of Chad.
Yeah, it's just not a thing.
It's not a thing.
Because she doesn't have the equipment that I'm looking for, if you know what I mean. So
I love it. And that's also my favorite thing is I have all these friends that are from so many different walks of life. Like we've got Holly who is going through a divorce, who has a kid. We've got you.
Your husband.
Yes, exactly. My husband. For those of you that don't know what that means.
Gay husband. Yes. It's the gay husband. I'm the gay husband. Emphasis on gay. Okay? Jesus.
I'm dead. And he is. And that's just, it's so much fun to just live in life with you.
Right. Well, I think that too, there's just such a comfortableness with the both of us because there's no threat of any kind in that sort of way. In a way of you completely trust me, I completely trust you.
Yes.
I mean, completely trust. And there's no tension sexually.
No,
and
definitely. Let me just tell you, y'all. Yeah. I've walked around naked in front of him, and there is no movement. There's nothing.
I have to run in there and help her find her earrings that she can't, find that are actually in the cleaner when she's having a panic attack. Oh. Yeah.
Chad knows literally everything. He's seen everything.
Yes.
And
vice versa.
That's for damn sure.
Vice versa.
I mean, we have been through relationships together.
Yeah,
We've
breakups.
been through, real life stuff. And that's been also too, I think, how I operate too, which is I've had a rough few days, y'all. I'm not going to lie. It's been a rough few days for me mentally, emotionally. I don't know it's just been tough. And Chad knows that. And he kind of it just feels good to have people around you that know how you operate, that don't take offense to much and who just know when to step up and step in or
step back, go to my room, because we live together. So, I think that, and your dad has said, I love that you live with Savannah because I know she's protected. I know she feels safe. She doesn't feel alone. And also, again, you're not a threat sexually. So that's great. But, don't let the gay fool you either. Now, if you come up in that house, you're going to be leaving on a gurney. I'm going to mess you up. But, because you ain't supposed to mess with my girl. But, ultimately, I know Savannah. I know Savannah probably better than anybody else because we are together literally all the time. I was going to go home and see my niece be in the homecoming court, and I got there and my flight got canceled. Immediately when I got there, I was just like, why did you leave me? I think both of us kind of have separation anxiety when we're not together because we're just used to being together all the time. It's almost like, where do you want to eat? What do you want to eat?
Yeah, it really is. And that was because y'all, literally all the time we go to we're at our favorite pub. What?
Corner pub.
Yes. like 4 nights a week
Right.
at least. We have dinner together. We will just sit there in silence together.
Right.
And in a way, it's, yes, that's healthy because it's always good to have those really close friends that you know you can lean on.
Right.
But in a way, I also think it's a little unhealthy now that I think about it.
Right, because we are together all the time.
And we're like each other's crutches.
But I will say this. There are times where Savannah, you know, if she's getting back kind of out in the dating cycle, she'll maybe, you know, try to go on a date with somebody and she'll be like, well, why don't you come with me? And I'm like, girl, they can't date both of us. You have got to figure out how to go by yourself. I'm a phone call away. You can totally go and hang out with them. So I do try to encourage you to be a little bit more independent.
You do. And too, y'all, it actually is really funny. So I went on this date with this guy one time and I was scared, right? Because, you know, I like met him on this dating app and don't get me wrong. All right, this guy, what's his name going to be? We'll just call him Wall Street.
Wall Street.
Yeah, we'll call him Wall Street.
Oh, Lord, Terry.
So I went, and again, y'all, I'm not going to put anyone's names out here because like I said before, I don't need to get sued.
Right.
They're not worth that. So Wall Street.
Right.
Met him on this dating app. He's like going to come and visit me. And I'm scared because I don't know if you're the Craigslist killer.
Right.
Like, I don't know if you're Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't know what you're doing to me. So I told him, you know, he was staying in a hotel and we were going to meet up for lunch, I think it was that day. And I was like, hey, yeah, so just, you know, a few of my friends are going to come. Y'all, it was my whole friend group.
Right.
Because I was scared to death.
Right.
So, you know, I had to have Chad with me because he's got a good, like, intuition.
Right. I'm an empath. So I can tell when somebody's being genuine. I can tell when they're being fake. I can tell when they got ulterior motives. All those things, I will figure it out about you real quick.
Yeah. So, you know, Wall Street comes. I bombard him with all my friends. He did great. He was awesome with them. I mean, granted, he's not in the picture anymore, which his loss.
Right.
No, it's just no shade whatsoever. Honestly, great person.
Right.
But that was one of those instances to where it was like, I just wanted Chad's opinion and I wanted I just felt that sense of safety, which I think I probably made the right decision because going out on a date with someone you meet on an app by yourself the first time
is always a little tricky.
That's a little tricky and I think a little dangerous. So I made the right decision, but I think it was like the second date to where Chad was like, hey, you can go and do this on your own.
Fly, little birdie, fly. You know, and also as much as Savannah needs or doesn't need me there, but as much as I'm there, I can say this, and this is what a lot of people probably don't know about Savannah is, you know, she's very busy in her life in many different aspects, but anytime, before we lived together, anytime that I needed her, or she can also tell when something's wrong with me, just in the tone of my voice, in the way that I respond in a text message. But there's been times that I've gone through breakups and I've been sad, and she has come over literally after midnight, shown up in her pajamas, face washed with ice cream, and we sit in the bed and we talk.
Or I'm like, hey, come on, come get in my car. You coming to my
She'll
house.
come pick me up. So that's just how our friendship operates. And there was even just this one time, which is kind of funny. It was more towards the beginning of our friendship. And
well, let me preface it by saying Chad always responds.
Always.
Like, he's always there. He always responds. He shows up when he says he's going to show up. And he gets up early.
I do get up early. But, y'all, everybody that knows me can tell you I have way too much energy for my own good. But there comes a time where you crash. So, and they didn't really know that about me at the time. And so I had... I was told Savannah that I would help her move some stuff on a Sunday. But it was one of those times where I went to bed and I just didn't turn my phone on or anything, and I just went to sleep. So my phone was on silent.
No, you cannot do that.
I know. But I wake up probably at like 10:30, 11 to my phone vibrating on my nightstand. And now I sleep with a fan on in my room and a noise machine, so I just couldn't hear anything. So I wake up and it's Julie Chrisley calling me, and I say hello, and she goes, where are you? Are you alive? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, Savannah and Todd are at your house. They're banging on your front door. Now, needless to say, y'all, I lived in a neighborhood in East Nashville, and I didn't tell people what I did. I mean, I knew some of my neighbors, but I'm first of all TMI, but I don't sleep with probably anything else. So I'm trying to find some clothes. My shorts are on backwards. I'm running to the front door because it sounds like they're about to kick it in. And I open the door, and Todd's standing there at my front door, and Savannah's standing behind him with a pink taser, and Todd's Bentley is parked under my stairwell, and all my neighbors are outside like, why are the Chrisleys banging on this guy's door? So
literally his whole complex was like outside. We're sitting there banging. I've got my taser. Like, I'm ready to mess somebody up.
Right.
I was going, like on that second floor where your apartment was.
Right.
I was going to try to climb around, like scale
the balcony. She was supposed to scale the wall. Right.
Yeah.
And my neighbor across the hall was like, hey, y'all, I think he might be just asleep. And they're like, you don't know, Chad. And I was like, oh, God. And so really Todd's like, what is wrong with you? Where have you been? I was like, y'all, I was just sleeping. And they're like, well, that's not normal. So I just said, you know what? I at least know that if I do die in my sleep, I won't be left for long. They will be definitely figuring it out and finding me very quickly.
But that's the thing. Is like, I feel like we need more people like that in our lives, you know, because we live in such a time to where everything's so superficial and everything's about going out and having fun. And granted, there's nothing wrong with going out and having fun. There's really not. But you also need people who genuinely care about you and love you well.
Right.
And that's what I pride myself on. Like, I mean, we ended up getting drugged out to Broadway last weekend. And it's 9:30, and Chad knew, like, I'm looking at him, he's looking at me.
We're like, girl, we should probably bounce out the back door and just not tell anybody. And normally that's what we do. We dip out, and people are like, where are y'all? And we're like, we're at home in the bed already watching some murder mystery on the TV.
But that's the thing, is we can have fun together, but also we've gone through a lot of crap together. And I will say, Chad and I, we had this argument one time. You remember, we're laying in your bed.
Oh,
and
God.
You're just about my dating choices, y'all. And he's just coming at me. And literally, I think I just looked at you that night and I said, enough.
Yeah.
Like,
I could tell I kind of had crossed the line. But here's the deal. This also, there's a difference in our age. Obviously, I'm a lot older than Savannah, but in some ways we're a lot real similar, because even though Savannah is younger, she's grown up on television. So she's a lot more mature than most people her age. So we meet somewhere in the middle a little bit.
We do. And I think you have to, age is truly just a number. I feel like our age is made up of our experiences, trauma, just life.
All the things. And we have a lot of similarities in those ways.
Yes.
But, I do have an advantage in the dating world. So sometimes the advice I'm giving her, and I have to remind myself, okay, I'm giving her this advice as a 45-year-old because I've lived it. But if I was a 25-year-old again, I'd probably be doing the same thing she was doing. But of course, I'm trying to give her the advice because I can see it maybe a little bit differently. But at the end of the day, she's got to live it for herself. So I can give her that advice. So I was kind of going in a little too hard probably on several different of her relationships.
Fine. Now, I think one of the things that was fine, if you want to be disrespected, then you go for it.
Right.
It's like, God, I'm not in the mental state to be taking these things right now. And too, I think part of it is learning to meet someone where they're at. Because like you said, all these things because you've been through it, but I haven't necessarily been through it. And there's certain things to where it's like, this is going to sound weird or maybe hard for me to explain, but there's certain situations I feel like we find ourselves in to where we know, like we see these things, but we may not be ready to walk away yet, or we may hope there's change on the horizon, or we're just comfortable in the discomfort for now. Right. And that's the hard part. Is the thing about me is I give people chance after chance after chance, and I don't think the world is so black and white and you have good people and you have bad people.
Right.
Like, I just truly don't. I think we all go through seasons to where we may not be as good of a person as we were in the last season, or we're not where we're going to be next season. And we live in a world where we just throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right. Well, and two, I'm probably a little bit more jaded because I have lived and she hasn't. So I will cut you off so quick. And I'll have your funeral in a day. I'll cry about it and I won't even remember who you are, which is probably not healthy either. I get that. But we also, too, I think a lot in life, we expect people to react and act the way that we think they should act. When really you have to allow somebody to act and react the way that and where they are in their life. You know what I'm saying? Because I may think, oh, they can do better. But in that person's mind, they may be doing the best they can. So we have to give people a little bit of grace to be able to be human and live their experience and go out the way that they need to do it.
I'm totally with you on that. And that's where I struggle too, is just like, it's not that difficult. Why can't you do this, this, and this?
Right, because we have such high standards for ourselves.
Yes.
And not that people don't have certain standards, but they just may not be in that life experience that we're necessarily in. Or they may not be. There are people who are fighters in life, and there are people who let their experiences dictate their life. And that's not me, and that's not you.
Yeah.
But we can't expect them to be us.
Exactly. And not everyone's done the work that you've done. Not everyone. When I went to on-site, when they were preparing us to go out back into the normal world, they said, you need to remember that when you leave here, not everyone was at on-site for the past 7 days. Not everyone was sitting here doing intensive therapy. Not everyone was working on themselves. So you have to have grace for other people because they're not where you're at. They haven't uncovered all these things or faced their demons. And so you got to realize that. And you can't hold them to a standard that really they shouldn't be held to.
Right.
And that's kind of where I struggle in my life, is doing that in relationships. And, like, you should know better. You should do this. You should do that. But they weren't raised the same way. They hadn't had the same life experiences. And two, I do want to say, y'all, when I'm talking about relationships, I'm not looking to hide anything. I'm not looking to run from anything. But there are people in my life that do live a more private life. And it is my responsibility to protect their privacy when that's something that means the world to them, because not everyone's grown up on TV like I have.
Right.
And so Chad knows I've had friends and I've had, people I've dated that are like, I just leave me out of it. And I'm like, 100%. Like, I will respect that. So that's also part of the reason I'm going to be using other names for people, because I want to protect their privacy. But at the same time, I want to take what I'm going through to help other people.
Yeah.
And I think too, that's another thing, is like boundaries.
Yeah.
Boundaries.
You
and I struggle with that.
Yeah,
and
I have a hard time with boundaries.
We do. Chad and I both have really hard times with boundaries. And the one thing that I learned in therapy was the people that gripe about you creating boundaries are the same ones who benefited from you not having any.
Right.
And that, I feel like when you start off, what I'm learning right now is that when you start off a relationship, friendship, anything with someone with no boundaries, you're doomed.
Well, and boundaries, people look at boundaries sometimes, I would say unhealthy people, and I'm not talking about anybody in particular, because I have been that person and I still am that person. But, boundaries are actually come from a place of love. And they actually allow you to love that person in a more deep, more genuine way.
Yeah.
Because there are people who they don't have any boundaries, or they don't respect boundaries because they don't have boundaries for themselves. You know what I mean? So respect is given, and it's also something that you have to earn. You know what I mean? And so people view boundaries. The people that view boundaries as a bad thing are people that don't have the respect and the boundaries for their own lives.
Yeah.
So they don't think that anybody else should have it.
But also, too, my argument to that in a way is like, I feel like sometimes people can be such good people that they don't want to have boundaries for anyone because they're afraid of hurting someone, or they're afraid of, I kind of feel like that's
definitely
you and I.
me. Yeah, me and you.
That's kind of us, is like, we're so afraid of hurting someone or that person walking away that it's like, I would rather be the one to suffer than to create boundaries.
Right. But we got to work on that.
Yeah.
Because that is what keeps us in the wrong situations and around the wrong people more than we should be.
Yeah.
100%.
And I think too, I don't know, like my relationship with Nick. And the only reason I say Nick's name is because that was all in the public eye. So the whole world followed our relationship from beginning to end.
Right.
And there wasn't those boundaries on both sides, really.
Right.
Like, there was times I screwed up, he screwed up. So neither of us are saints.
Right.
But we didn't have those boundaries. And then when we started doing the work, and when I started doing a ton of therapy, I realized how hard it was to implement boundaries when we didn't have any previously.
Right.
And so it takes, like, I feel like creating boundaries will either strengthen a relationship or completely tear it apart.
Right.
And if it tears it apart, that's your sign that this isn't where I needed to be to begin with.
Right. And I think that it's just like you said, it's not that you or he are either one bad people. You just started off with no boundaries and no respect really for each other and each other's life and time and all that stuff. So it's hard to go backwards once you're already halfway through something.
Yes,
So that's why it's great that you guys have taken a break, a clean break from each other, and are kind of working on yourselves individually.
Yeah.
And, if it's meant to be, like I said, it'll come back around later on in life, but it's just not the right time probably now.
Yeah, no, I think honestly, Nick and I did the back and forth for so long, and we're going to work on ourselves, and then maybe we'll try it. And I think now it's like, since Christmas, it's done. So going on a year, like done. Like, no going back to each other, no, none of that. And sometimes you just need that, and two, when you've been in a relationship with someone for 3.5, 4 years, you want to have enough respect for that person to not hate that person, to still try to, at some point, gain a friendship out of the breakup. But time has to pass. I'm a firm believer time has to pass.
Right. Well, and Savannah can tell you this, in all my breakups, I'm friends with all my exes, every single one of them. And it's because, and again, this may or may not be healthy, but when I go through a breakup, I will block, delete, and not really speak to somebody. And I tell them that. And at first they think that it's cold or that I'm being an asshole or whatever, but I'm really not. I'm really putting a boundary in place to where I can heal from the hurt in the relationship. They can heal from the hurt in the relationship. And then we can come back together as friends, because when you do that, you're actually giving respect to that person. And the people that I've done that to in the beginning, they will, say whatever, but in the end, they thank me and say, it helped me get over you quicker because you created such a strong boundary. Because once you allow that space to happen, you can actually get over it quicker, and you can realize why you like that person in the first place, and also realize maybe they weren't the right person for you. But if you can learn from that relationship and you can take something from it and grow and be better in your next relationship, then it really was not a relationship lost.
Exactly. 110%. That's what I say. And that's the knowledge I've gained through my relationships. And even, we've joked about me once, being on this dating app and, Mr. Wall Street. And, we had restaurant owner.
Yeah.
That was really a general manager, but it's fine. Y'all, it was actually assistant manager. But no shade. Just don't lie to me. Don't lie to me about what you do. There's a big difference between owner and assistant manager. But it's fine. I just don't like a lie. Trust me. I don't have, what does Dad say? I go from Skid Row to Billionaire Row.
Right.
Like, I don't care what you have, what you do. Just don't lie to me.
Just be authentic, be genuine, be honest.
Exactly.
And be vulnerable. Some people think they have to put on a front.
Exactly. And I will say, like you just said, you learn something from each person. So if you allow yourself to not be filled with so much anger and hatred and disappointment from a relationship not working out, then you can take something from it. Because it's just, even Wall Street. I say the one thing I took away from that short little, we weren't even dating. It was just, we were casually dating, talking. And the one thing I took from that was men can communicate.
Yeah.
Like, it is possible when
he is a great communicator.
Yes, great communicator. Like, and there's so much, I think in a way, it kind of brought back a little bit more respect for men on my side, because I feel like I got to a place to where I was just like, holy cow, men don't communicate. They don't care. They don't try to get to know you. All they want to do is get in your pants, and that's it. And I think he taught me that men can communicate. They will put in the work when they have the self-respect and boundaries, and they've done the work. You really have to find those people that are in the same place. They don't have to be in the same place, but you just have to show up as your authentic self. Yes. And I think the most important thing that it taught me as a woman is I don't have to settle. Like, I am worthy of good communication. I'm worthy of someone looking at me and being like, wow, like, I'm so proud of you. Like, that's so amazing. You're such a badass. Your career, everything you're accomplishing. Right. Way to go. So that's what I took from that. Even though I'm not, even though I didn't go into a relationship with this person, I still feel like that person left me better and left me with a sense of like, okay, this has renewed my hope in men and relationships, and I don't have to settle, because I feel like for so long it's like, all right, I don't want to be lonely, or I have so many friends too, like, and that's something I feel like Holly and I will talk about in the coming weeks on here, is we've both discussed how we've settled for people because we didn't want to be alone. Right. When in reality, I feel like those moments are the moments to where we need to dig deep and fix and whatever's going on in us. Right. Well, and two, like you said, Wall Street, when the relationship shifted, he communicated that. Yes. And that's all you really want in life. You just want somebody to be honest with you, even if it's a difficult conversation. Now, Wall Street. Oh, Lord. He communicated. And then he didn't. But he communicated till he didn't. Right. And then went MIA for like a day and a half, 2 days, and then had the nerve to text me and be like, what's going on in Las Vegas? Sir? No. You fell off the map for a reason. Exactly. Don't, and then Christopher Columbus it back. Okay, this ain't America. I mean, it is, but I'm dead. No, literally. And then it was like, what's going on in Las Vegas? Didn't respond. Then he goes, dead. Never. And then another text. Can't even look at alcohol again, because he went on a friend's birthday trip, which I get. I don't expect you to be on the phone with me 24/7. But the point was that he said, don't worry, I'm going on this trip, but I'll still be texting you every day. Well, he was like, we'll still be communicating as usual. Right. That's not what happened. Right. So he had gone on this trip, went MIA, and then so he sent me that text, dead, then sent me another text that was like, never looking at alcohol again. I just hearted the dead text, because, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you better be dead. Right. That's why there was a lack of communication, because you're 6 feet under. Or you acted like you was dead, which is why I didn't hear from you. Yes. And I responded to his text. So I just hearted it. And then like an hour and a half later, he texted me again and was like, are you mad at me? First off, y'all, if you have to ask someone if they're mad at you, then you already know the answer. And you feel a level of guilt or responsibility coming on for why this person is responding the way they're responding. Exactly. So all I said was, well, I thought we were both ghosting. I'm sorry. Yeah. And checkmate. He was like, ha ha. And then that's when he went into, this whole BS spiel that he had. But it was a great communicator, though. That's what I'm saying. I didn't necessarily like the context of it because I think it was like a mind game.
Right.
Of how great of a connection there is, but we should be friends.
Right.
Like, don't pull that. Don't pull a we should be friends with me.
Right.
No, sir. Not happening. But he communicated still at that point in time after a day and a half.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think too, not just in relationships, in friendships, in families, in life, we've really lost communication.
Yes, we have.
You know, we can't have conversations, even if they're difficult conversations. Even if it's a difficult conversation you have to have with your damn self. You know what I mean? But like, nobody has conversations anymore. When they feel uncomfortable with something, they either ghost you or they, you know, say something, or they use this like displaced emotions, anger stuff to create a distraction or an argument. And the thing about it is, if we could just communicate better, and that's in any aspect of life, then we could at least find some middle ground. And you have to have respect for somebody to be able to communicate that way and just say, hey, listen, I hear you. But I don't agree with you, but I respect that. Yes. You know what I mean? So we got to be able to at least have conversations, people.
And that's the thing.
And communicate.
With Wall Street, I felt that level of respect, which is why it's like, hey, really can't be mad at you.
Right.
Like, yes, you didn't communicate for a day and a half.
Right.
That was a little your sketch.
Right.
But before that, there was a great level of communication, respect, and for that, like, I'm so grateful. Now it's a great friend to have in my life. I think it just, you know, you have to place that person and give it enough time to just be friends.
Right.
And like you said, with the whole communication, that kind of leads me to the next thing that I wanted to ask you is, you know, you and I've had tough conversations.
We have tough conversations, and we don't agree on everything in life.
No, we don't. And that was kind of the whole point of this podcast too, is to realize that you can disagree but you can still love someone through it. And I feel like through a lot of your life and things that we've discussed, you haven't had a lot of people to love you through the disagreement or the difference of opinions.
Right.
You know, like, and that's, I think, what is, because you're gay. We discussed that. But you getting to the
I'm not
point,
gay. My boyfriend is. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have a boyfriend.
I love it. That's always been my favorite thing Chad says. I'm not gay, but my boyfriend is. It took you a long time to get to the point of being able to say, yeah, I'm gay. Like, make jokes about it, to be comfortable in it, because that difference of opinion caused you to feel less than a lot of times.
For a long time in my life. You know, and I've been, like Savannah's saying, she's been on site and stuff. I mean, I've been in therapy since I was like 10 years old for a really long time for numerous reasons in my life. And she is right. You know, there was a lot of times where I just didn't have people that understood me or understood who I was. There were always people that understood that I was a good person. I was just hiding a lot of things. So when you're not authentic in your own skin, then you do stuff that's not necessarily authentic to who you are.
Yeah.
But you know, my Aunt Diane, she loved me unconditionally. If it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't be alive today, because she just got it. And she knew I needed somebody. That's
the thing, is getting through that though. Like, what is some advice you would give to people? I'm going to ask you a question in two different ways. The first way is, what's the advice that you would give to someone who is struggling to be who they are 110%? Right.
Okay. My advice to that would be, I tried my best to not be who I was, to not be gay. My mom took me to all these therapists, Christian counselors, all these people, you know, and finally a Christian counselor told her, you know, like, your son doesn't have a problem. You know, you do, thinking that he shouldn't be who he is because God made him that way. And that really changed the way that I felt about myself. And also, I lived in a place, and I'm not, you know, talking down towards where I lived. I lived in a place where
It was very small-minded.
Small-minded, and a lot of the churches are small-minded. And I came to Nashville, and, you know, there were preachers in churches and people that loved me to the light, you know, and that's what I would say to people. If you disagree with gay people and you disagree with your children, like, you should love them to the light, not distance yourself or push them away from them. So once I was able to get that love and that compassion from people, then I was able to love myself. And really, you have to love yourself first, because in the commandments, the 10 commandments of the Bible, the first one is to love God above any other God. And the second one is to love your neighbor as yourself. And that last part, as yourself, means that you should be loving yourself for exactly who God made you. And then you should really be loving your neighbor as much as you should be loving yourself.
Yeah.
And that means people that disagree with me being gay will love me. Love me to the light. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You don't have to be hateful, because there's so many people online and stuff that now that we're friends and I'm a little bit more public and I'm a little bit more on there that say, ooh, gross, or, you know, he just is mooching off the Chrisleys, or he's doing this or he's doing that. And a lot of them I can tell are probably like Christian people who are, and that's fine. And I would say hypocritical Christian people.
Yes, because that's the thing. It's like, I'll look at people's profiles who will say the nastiest things to me. And it's proud mother, lover of Jesus. And I'm sorry, y'all. And that is where there is a disconnect in the church and in religion, is because there's so much judgment, I feel like. And I'm not saying you have to agree with someone's lifestyle.
Right.
I'm not saying, you know, there's so many Christians out here who say, well, in the Bible, it says this about being gay. Well, what does it say in the Bible about sex before marriage? Guilty. About using the Lord's name in vain? Guilty.
Right.
You know, talking about money, like the love of money, guilty.
In the same paragraph where it would say, a man to lie with a man, a woman to lie with a woman, in that same verse, it says to eat shellfish is an abomination, to touch pigskin is an abomination, to wear an article of more than one clothing, to cut your hair. And everybody's like, oh, well, that's outdated, but we're going to hold on to this. So you can't cherry pick what feels comfortable to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And two, it's everyone's, though, one thing I do want to preface, though, is everyone has a different interpretation of the Bible. It's literally, you ask the person next to you, it's going to be different. It's like the telephone game.
Right.
Everyone has a different interpretation. And it's not my responsibility to tell someone what they should believe, how they should believe it. But I know for me that Christianity and God is loving people and loving people well. Right. And it's not up to me to go and account to say, oh, you're sinning, you're doing this, you're doing that. I don't want someone doing it to me. So I believe in being a good person, and you can disagree with things. Like, you can, first off, too, I just want to preface, if someone being gay is an issue for anyone, you got some bigger issues. Like, there's way more going on in our world than who someone else chooses to love. Exactly. And so that's on you. Right. But I think it's the biggest thing is you and I, we're two completely different people. Right. There's things we don't agree on medically, politically. Right. You know, just in real, like in life and day to day.
But we have difficult conversations that can get a little heated, but if they're getting heated, we're friends enough and we respect each other enough, like, hold up, I don't want this to be an argument. I want to hear you, you want to hear me. And we hear each other and we agree to disagree and we move on, because it's not big enough issues to let it divide us. And that's what's really happening is everybody's so divided because they get into arguments. And they get into arguments because if somebody says something that they don't agree with, they immediately attack them. Well, if you want somebody to actually hear you, maybe contact that person privately, or contact that person if they're your friend and just say, hey, listen, this hurt me, and this is why. Because if you can come from a place of hurt, people will listen to you. Yes. But if you come from a place of anger, people immediately stop listening, and they immediately are trying to figure out how they can respond to you in a way of also anger. So if we can't come from a place of hurt and understanding and compassion and kindness and have difficult conversations, but in a level of respect, then there's no way for us to get back to the middle, which is where we should be.
100%. I remember back when I think I was like 17 and I was dating Blair. And at that time, I remember his mom telling me, it's just something, you know, certain things that happen that are just like mind. Stick with you. And she said, if you would say what you did made me feel this way.
Right.
People can't argue with a feeling, you know, like you hurt me. Like this made me feel disrespected. It made me feel whatever way you're feeling.
Right.
It's easier for someone to kind of meet you where you're at versus accusing someone or degrading, speaking down.
Right.
It's no one can meet you there.
Right.
You know,
well, and it's because you're actually telling someone that they may not have meant to do that, but that's the way it made you feel. So nobody genuinely wants to hurt somebody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if they do, you know the saying, hurt people hurt people. So, you know, it just all goes back to respect and how you communicate with someone, because I just feel like we're all so angry and so divided right now that we just can't have conversations.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
and we should be able to.
There's none of that. We live in such a divided world and country right now. You know, we've got all the election crap that divides people. And it's like, y'all, let's be real. All politicians are liars.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're on the left, the right, the middle, the whatever you are.
It's all dirty. Politics are just dirty in general. I would never want to be a politician.
Exactly. So all of that's dirty. So why are we going to allow really something that is not in our control to
divide us?
Divide
families.
Family.
Yeah. All these people.
Nothing is ever more important than love and your family and your relationships.
Right. And it all goes back to what you said just a few minutes ago. I'm not going to harp on it. But like you just were talking about Christianity and how people, well, you know what, guys, we're not the only religion in the world. But I can tell you this because I've studied it enough, because I've had to, because I have to defend myself sometimes with religious views. And that's a whole different podcast and a whole different conversation. So I'm not going to get into that. But every religion around the world, mostly the main takeaway from those religions is love, mercy, grace, understanding, acceptance, kindness. So if you're using any type of religion, Christianity, any kind of religion, for anything besides that, then you are loving and doing it wrong. Because if Christ were here today, he would not be out here attacking people and calling people names or, you know, dividing them. He would be hanging out with all the people that are broken, all the people that need love. So what we need to do more in life and in society right now is just love each other and try to understand where people are coming from in their hurt.
Because everyone's hurting. In a way, everyone's hurting. And if you would take time to get to know people, you may not agree with their story. Right. You may have different points of view, but you could understand why they're at where they're at in their story and why they've made certain decisions and why it's easier to have different points of view when you understand where someone's coming from. Instead of just saying, this is what works. Like, it's not black and white. What works for one doesn't work for everyone. And
it's not. There's a lot of great issues in a lot of different topics that we're not going to touch on because we don't want to polarize or be divisive on here either. The main thing we want to do is let them get to know, especially you better.
Yeah.
I think the thing about it is what you were saying, and my mind just went dead.
Mind just went dead. Y'all, Chad and I will have so many conversations and he's like, my mind just went dead. I don't know what I was saying.
Yeah.
I think it's just, like we've said, loving people and loving people well. And I'm guilty of not doing that real well.
Well, I was going to say this. My mind just woke back up. I was just going to say it's easy to judge somebody from a distance. It's easy to attack somebody from a keyboard or somewhere else. But it's just like I told my family and my mom and them when we're having difficult conversations about different types of people. I would say, you guys used to feel a certain type of way about gay people, and now you have a gay son, and your views have changed. And that is that you can't hate somebody up close. If you have somebody, and if you feel a certain way towards somebody, or towards gay people, black people, Muslims, Asian, any kind of type of people, if you get to know those people, your views will change because you will see everybody on this planet in some way is just trying to do the best they can.
And we all just want to be loved.
We all want to be loved. We want to be happy. We want our families to do well. You know, and there's so much displaced emotions and displaced anger because of things. But, you know, ultimately, you can't hate somebody up close. So get to know people if you don't understand them. Reach out to that person. Go have coffee with them. You know what I mean?
And I'm not saying, and that's one thing I want to preface, is we're not saying this to, oh, you always have to cave in to what someone else says, or you have to give up your opinions and beliefs. You don't. But your opinions and you don't have the right to bring hurt on someone else with your opinions and beliefs.
Right.
There's a way to be respectful while disagreeing with someone. So
me and Savannah, we ain't changed none of our beliefs.
No.
She still feels the way she feels. I still feel the way I feel. But because of conversations we've had, I understand why she feels the way she does on certain issues. She understands why I feel a certain way. And we can still stand strong in those issues and beliefs and love each other, because that's what we're put on this earth to do. You're put on this earth to live, to be grateful, and to give back.
100%. And so I think with that, it's like, that's why I want to bring on all my friends to this podcast too, because you all bring something different to the table.
Yeah.
Like, you're bringing this to the table. Holly's going to bring her story to the table, which is just like mind blowing. And she could be batshit crazy. Yeah. She can, but she's
wild.
I love her to death. Like, some of the things that she'll say sometimes, it's like, whoa. Okay.
Yeah, but she's authentic.
She is.
You don't ever have to wonder anything about her.
And she is the most loyal human being out there. It's the craziest. Like, it's just, those are the people you want in your lives. And so she's going to come on next, I think. I'm also going to have Mom and then Dad. But I do, Chad. Let's see. I'm trying to think of something. Why are you why's your body?
I don't know. I'm always afraid of what she's supposed to ask me. I'm like, oh, God.
I'm dead. No, I think, we've obviously talked about a lot of really intense things, but I do want to touch on all the fun that we have, too.
We get in a lot of trouble.
Yes, we do. Lord
that
help
we won't
us.
talk about.
Lord help us.
Yes.
We've got, all of our fun little outings that we do.
Yeah.
And, too, I think we're...
Oh, God.
You know what I want to bring up right now.
What?
No, just Please, the Jesus. Dating world in general. God. Y'all, I'm dating people that are like Chad's age.
Yeah.
So now we're at a place to we're playing in the same pond. Right.
And I date mostly people that are Savannah's age.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not playing in the same pond. Correct me. I'm dating in your age group. You're dating in mine.
And my mom always says, why you always drive the school bus? And I'm like... Listen, nobody my age wants to get on the bus. I don't know what to tell you. It's probably because I have a youthful spirit.
But that's exactly what I said to Dad, because Dad's like, why are you out here trying to date all these older men? I was like, Todd, with all due respect, it's not like I walk around with a sign on my forehead that says, everyone 40 and up, come my way.
Right.
Like, buy a ticket. No, I don't. It just happens. Those just totally happen to be the people that I connect with. And y'all, don't count out the old stallions, because...
Oh, Jesus, take the wheel.
I'm just saying.
Here we are. We have pulled up to the stalls, and we are talking about the stallions. So the thing about it is, though, is... I have a youthful spirit, and Savannah, again, growing up on TV, has created a much more mature person for someone her age. Yeah. She has businesses, she's lived, and so there are just guys that are her age that don't get her, you know what I mean? No. Or can't get her, or she kind of has a bigger penis than them. You know what I mean? Can I say that?
Yes, you can say it. Yeah. But no, I think...
It demasculates them a little bit because Savannah's such a powerful person. So if it's a guy that's a little bit older, they kind of think that what she does is a little cute, and they're not intimidated by it. But your dad and your mom have both said you needed to date older. Maybe they didn't mean as older as my age, but,
They did.
Spin the wheel, Vanna. What you going to get?
Exactly. They said older. I think they meant like maybe 10 years max.
Right.
But to each their own. I think I've lived so much life and I'm tired of these boys keyword boys, being intimidated by what I bring to the table and me feeling like I have to dim my light in order for theirs to shine brighter.
Hallelujah.
And it's not, and again, I do want to apologize for what I just said, because it's not a diss. It's just
a fact.
It's a
of
fact
where people are.
And it's what we said is you can't expect people to meet you where they just don't have the ability to meet you right now.
Right.
And so I think if I would have listened or seen a lot of signs earlier on in past relationships, then maybe I wouldn't have gotten so far into it.
Right.
But that goes back to me being insecure and not having enough guts to be like, hey, I'm out, can't do this.
Right.
I think for so long I also fought like being with someone significantly older because of the stigma, what it's gonna look like, what it's just, you can't help who you connect with. Now y'all ain't saying I'm out here with like a 70-year-old. Calm down. This ain't no,
Right.
whatever. But even just like 15, 20, 25 years older, like
pushing it.
Oh, I'm kidding. No, just you can't help who you connect with. And there are certain people that come into your life for seasons and reasons. And if we learn to view relationships that way, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because there have been people who have come in my life to where it's like, God knew I needed you right at that time.
Right.
Like God knew that you were going to show up for me how I needed to be shown up for then.
Right.
Or we were just going to have laughs and we were going to do fun stuff. And people just show up for different seasons of life.
Right.
And that's okay.
There's different people that bring different things to the table.
Yeah.
And there's some things that they bring to the table that are beneficial. And there's some things that they bring to the table that you don't want. It's just like food. There's some shit you bring to the table that you want to eat, and there's some stuff you don't want to eat. You know what I mean? So, but what you get from it and what you take from it, that's what's important. And that's what matters, is what those people bring and what it may be that you need at that moment in your life.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say this, don't cuss me out. But it's just the truth. But like you're so mature in so many ways, but growing up on TV has created a lot of insecurities, but you're starting to come into who you really are, especially working on yourself, going to on-site. So your power has shifted and is changing, and you're starting to really respect yourself more and have more of that in you. So again, that is triggered some people, some friends around you, because you are coming into that. So if you change and they don't, it's threatening to those people.
Yeah. And it's okay. It's okay to lose some people along the way.
Right, exactly.
Because like you said, with me growing up on TV, I think, even after the first 2 episodes of this podcast, I saw there's been all kinds of positive feedback, positive comments, people saying how much this has helped them.
Right.
And for that, I'm so grateful. But it goes back to that saying of like, you can have 1,000 good comments and 1 bad one, and you're going to remember that bad one.
Right.
And it's someone saying, oh, I don't want to hear you talk about your issues.
Right.
Try having real world issues. And I'm like, excuse me?
Right.
Like, you want to talk about real world issues now.
Right.
I got 2 parents who are going through this huge legal battle right now, who I may have to live the rest of my life without them.
Right.
So come at me about real world issues.
Right.
And that's the hardest part is we're not all, I'm not sitting here, poor pitiful me. I'm not, because I have fought my whole life. I'm not going to be a victim of any circumstance.
Right.
That's not who I am. I don't think the victim mentality is attractive for me.
Right.
I don't, because and when you have had to go through things that you have been a victim of, I don't feel that is a word you want to be used to describe you.
Right. Well, here's the things in life, and I've been through a lot of therapy, so this is my therapist part coming out. In life, you're all going to have things that happen to you. You can either be a victim or you can be a victor.
Yep.
And there's so many people that live in that victim mentality, and it's not, they can't help it. Maybe they've not had the resources to help them get out of that victim mentality. But being in that victim mentality only hurts you as an individual.
Yeah.
Until you can realize, if you can take the experience that you had and that pain and turn it into a lesson and turn it into making you a stronger person, then that was an experience that needed to happen to get you to a place that God is setting you up for other things to happen.
And I think,
and I'll say this, pain is inevitable.
Yep.
Suffering is optional.
100%. That's been one of my favorite things that Chad said. And for me, I can say the things about being a victim of a circumstance because I was so comfortable in a victim mentality for so long. And I think the reason for that is because you're afraid of who you're going to be without that hurt. You're afraid of, if I let this hurt go, does it mean that it didn't happen? Does it, like, who am I going to be? And I think that holds so many people back from forgiveness and truly living a fulfilled life, because it's, if I forgive you, then it takes away from what happened. That doesn't. At the end of the day, you forgive people for yourself, not for them. And I'm never going to look to have that victim mentality on this podcast, but I do go through shit. And that's the hard part, is I go through stuff, and I'm not, what you're going through isn't any bigger than mine. What I'm going through isn't any bigger than yours. It's just, we're all going through stuff, and we don't have the right to
pick and choose what's important for somebody else. Or say, so those comments, and it comes, the thing about it is, people, is this. It is so important how you speak to other people, but it is most importantly, so important how you speak to yourself.
Exactly. I just saw a interview with Kendall Jenner and Jay Shetty. And I love Jay. I love listening to his podcast. And it was Kendall Jenner talking about one of her therapy sessions with her therapist. And she said, I knew that I needed to work on how I spoke to myself, because I look in the mirror and I see different things, and I talk down to myself, and I struggle with all these things. And her therapist encouraged her to find a picture of her as a kid. And she said she was scrolling through, she found this picture, and she printed it off. Her therapist wanted her to put it on her mirror, and she put it on her mirror, and her therapist said, next time you want to say something negative about yourself and degrading, look at her and say it. Right. And she knew you can't do that, because that little kid doesn't deserve those things. So if that little kid doesn't deserve those things, then you don't deserve those things. And that helped her to change her viewpoint on herself, because she loved that little girl she saw. She loved the happiness. She loved the smile. She loved the innocence. And so I think that's something that I encourage everyone to do, is to find something like that that's going to help you view yourself in a different light and not be so hard on yourself. Because I look at pictures of me as a kid and I'm like, that is one bad bitch. I didn't care. I would go out here dressed in basketball shorts. I'd have hair all over my head. I'd have crap all over my face. I loved that carefree spirit, and that's what I'm trying to get back to, because I've lived my life for so long being on TV of trying to please everyone else but myself. Right. And so I think you've seen the transition of myself.
I totally have. From when I first met you till now. Is huge, because you've put in the time, you've put in the work, and you've put in the energy to become a better person from the things that have happened to you and continue to happen to you. And they're going to continue to happen to you as time goes on. But it's how we deal with them, it's how we process it, and it's how we use those as tools to project us into our future that God has intended us to have.
100%. So I think, you know what, Chad? I just want to thank you for coming on my podcast.
Of course.
And I love you so much.
I love you so much.
I don't know where I'd be without you. I really don't.
Same.
It's at this point in life, y'all, you will see a wedding of mine. You will. It may just be with Chad.
Yeah. Just kidding. We're not going down that road. We don't want to confuse y'all again now.
I'm kidding. Yeah. But I'll
be in the wedding, but I won't be
Y'all, he was going to be like my maid of honor in my wedding.
Man of honor.
Man of honor. Sorry.
I'm gay, but I'm not a girl.
But, whatever. No, I love you so much. And thank you for coming on and opening up your heart to people and showing them who you are. And maybe your story can help save a lot of other people who are struggling with their identity and their self. And I just love you.
Thank you. I love you so much. Thank you for having me. I think you're an amazing person. You know that.
Love you. I'll see you at the corner pub later.
Okay, see you at the corner pub. Fried pickles. Let's go.
Welcome back to this week's episode of Unlocked. I am so excited for today's episode. It honestly fell into place perfectly. I have Samantha Bush on, and a lot of people would say, oh, this is Kyle Bush's wife, NASCAR driver. But to me, Samantha has paved her own way and has been such a voice for women. And following her on social media, just loving her encouragement, what she's fighting for. That's why I love her. And I'm really jealous of her gardening skills. But welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad this all worked out perfectly.
I know. I'm so excited. So yeah, I really am jealous of your garden.
You know what? It is a full-time job though. It's funny. I thought it was going to be this little nice hobby, and then it's a daily thing. And so we were getting ready to fly out here, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to pick the blueberries or else the birds are going to get them before we leave. Yeah. So it's a nonstop, but I love it. It's so fun. It's great to have the kids involved, and no screen time, just kind of get out there.
Yes.
But yeah, I started real small, and then a year later it was full-blown gardener.
That is amazing. So you guys are in Nashville for the NASCAR race this weekend, right? And so when did you and Kyle got married, what,
2010. Yeah, it's been a long time.
Long time.
It's wild. I mean, we were talking about it the other day. We're we have been together for almost 2 decades. That really ages us.
That's insane. And you have 2 kids?
Yes, Brexton and Lennox. So Brexton's 10 and Lennox is 3, and they are our miracle IVF babies.
Stop. I love it. That is amazing.
Yes, you see all my jewelry is dedicated to the kids. Oh my God. So
it's all gorgeous and amazing. So it's funny, you and I met for the first time in DC.
Yeah.
It was so brief, but it was during the women's event, and you had already been there at the White House, and I remember you coming up, you're like, Savannah, hi. I just wanted to say hi, and then you were like, all right, I gotta go to my son's race.
Yes, it was so funny. We were there, and literally the president was getting ready to come on, and I was like, oh my gosh. So it was the first time my son raced against Kyle. So it was this huge race, and he had been texting me all day, and he was like, Mom, you can't miss this. You can't miss it. And they were like, the president's running behind. And I was like, oh, I gotta go, mom life. And so literally, I think we were getting into the Uber, and then everybody's like, yeah, the president's here. And I was like, of course.
Isn't that hilarious too? Because you're like, oh no, I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be this.
I know. I was afraid to leave that room in the middle of it. So I was like, well, I better go before he gets here, because that would look really bad.
Without a doubt. Oh my gosh. So how did the race go?
It was good. Kyle beat him by 2 spots. So he was a little upset, but I mean, it's great. They're going to race together again this weekend. And it's just wild. I mean, Kyle didn't even start racing till he was 13. And Brexton honestly started racing during COVID because the dirt tracks were open. Yep. It was outside. And, after a couple months, it was like, okay, dear gosh, we have to get out and do something. Yes. And so we threw him in racing when he was 5, and at first it was slow going, and then it was like a light switch, and one day he figured it out and he just loves it.
Wow.
So people always say, they're like, you're gonna burn him out, because he did 150 races last year.
Holy cow.
As a child. But we always tell him, we're like, Brex, do you want to go to your friend's birthday party on Saturday or go to a race? We let him choose. We're like, even last month, we're like, do you want to come on vacation with us or go to a race? He's like, yeah, peace, I'm going to race. So
really?
Yeah.
And how old is he again?
He just turned 10.
That is crazy. Yeah. Also, he's racing, but you can't legally drive.
I know.
Which is such a crazy thought.
So he came home the other day because he just graduated, not graduated, but when you turn 10, you're allowed to run these other cars. And he's like, Mom, I went 92 miles an hour down the front stretch. And I was like, wow, there's days that we still struggle to tie our shoes, but
okay. 92 miles an hour.
Okay, we'll do that.
That is crazy. Yeah. So what is the process for that? Will he follow in Dad's footsteps?
He really wants to. That's kind of his goal. He does a little bit. So Kyle did pretty much just pavement racing, which is like what NASCAR is. But Brexton does dirt racing too. So he definitely, you know, he's like, okay, I can do this and then this and this. So him and Kyle have big plans. So
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm proud of them.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So speaking about your kids, for people that don't know you, can you tell a little bit of your story and your struggles? And I know a lot of women listening have struggled with infertility, and it's like the most debilitating, just
isolating, frustrating. I mean, how much time do you have?
Yeah, right.
So our fertility journey spanned almost a year, or 10 years. I'm sorry.
Wow.
It was so difficult. We started when we were very young, 25, 26 years old. We thought we're in great health. This is going to be so easy.
And you remember as a kid them being like, be careful. First time you have sex,
you'll be pregnant.
Yeah, literally.
Yep. And they taught us nothing about our cycles, anything. And so being so young and naive, we tried on our own for quite a while. And, you know, as the months racked up and every negative pregnancy test, it became more frustrating. It became more isolating and became more depressing. And I went to go see the OBGYN and they were like, you're young, it'll happen. And so then finally, after around the year mark, they said, okay, well, we're going to put you on a medication called Clomid. And mind you, this was before Instagram and things like that. So there weren't support groups. There wasn't a whole lot of knowledge out there. So I went on 5 rounds of Clomid with my husband not even being tested. And I say that because it is a very hard medication. It's emotionally, I mean, it is like being on the worst day of your period times 10 the whole time.
Without even testing your husband.
Yeah, and which is interesting because when it comes to infertility, 1/3 of the time it's female factor, 1/3 of the time male factor, and then 1/3 unexplained. So for men and women, it's the same.
Yes.
But, you know, we've always looked at things like infertility as, oh, it's just on the woman. And so finally we had about 18 months, finally got referred to a fertility clinic and he got tested. I ended up having PCOS. He had low sperm count. And so they were like, the only way you guys are going to be able to have a child is through IVF. So we went right into IVF and we were very blessed. And the first time, we had success with our son, Brexton.
Oh, that gives me chills.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I wish the rest went like that. Unfortunately, then when Brexton was a toddler, we decided, okay, we're going to have our second one. At this time now, social media is a thing, Instagram, all the stuff. And so I said, you know what? It was so isolating and so scary going through IVF that I'm going to bring everybody along with us so that whether it's the medication or the doctor's appointments or the transfer, whatever it is, like here is a real look so that it's not as scary. So we bring everybody along on the second time and we're pregnant. We announced right away because everybody knows when we transferred.
Yes.
And then we had a very sudden miscarriage early on. And it was so hard. Like to this day, it hurts. Like there's always a piece of your heart that will be gone. And after the miscarriage, we had a lot of marital struggles because we had never dealt with something so heavy. And we didn't understand how each other were grieving and we didn't understand what each other needed in that time and place. And so it was a struggle. And so we worked on it. We worked really hard. We went to marriage counseling.
And when you say that, what would you say was your biggest, like, how did you see things falling apart in front of you?
So for me, I couldn't get past it. As a woman, I think it is ingrained in you to be like, what did I do? And I know it wasn't my fault, but I needed something to blame.
Yeah.
I needed a reason. And so I was like, what did I do wrong to cause this? And I just had this immense guilt and I was so mad at myself for it. And Kyle, on the other hand, he was just like, you know, I'm not trying to sound cold, but it's done. There's nothing you can do to change this outcome. Like we have to keep moving forward. Yeah. And I wanted him to still be in the trenches with me and he was moving forward and I couldn't move forward. Yeah. And so that caused a lot of animosity for us. And it took us a while to just understand each other's perspectives and where we were coming from. So we worked on it and then we did another transfer, when things were better. This was probably a good year later plus, and that was a failed cycle. And so the doctor sat me down and they're like, we don't really have that many embryos left of good quality.
Yeah.
Like, we're not sure the decline, like, this doesn't really make any medical sense. Would you consider a gestational carrier? So that took a while to wrap my mind around, and it was in the midst of COVID and everything else. And so we went through so many people, and not for anybody's fault. Like, we had one amazing woman and she didn't clear medical. And then we had another amazing woman and it just wasn't the right timing. And so each time it didn't work. It just felt like another fail.
Yeah.
So then we finally find, like, God sent us an angel. I'm actually having her on my podcast. Like,
no way.
She slid into my DMs, so we always laugh about it.
Stop it.
It was at a moment, and this is why I say God's timing is everything. It was at a moment where another woman it didn't work. Her husband was relocating jobs, and so she couldn't be our carrier. And so I remember Kyle and I had gone down to watch a show, and I was like, that's it. This is never going to work. Like, we're never going to have another kid. And it was at that exact moment that she sent me a DM.
Stop.
But she had it written for months, which is just wild. And she was like, something told me I needed to send it right then and there. So everything happens for a reason. But unfortunately, with her, we had another failed cycle. So then I had to go start all over again with the egg retrieval. And then the doctor at this new clinic was like, why don't you try again? So I said, okay. Did the transfer, and at first they thought it was an ectopic pregnancy, and then they thought it was delayed implantation. And so then we go for this ultrasound and we see a heartbeat. And we're like, okay, finally our miracle, And so we go back 2 weeks later, and I'll never forget, the tech was like, she's doing the wand. This doesn't make sense. I'm like, what doesn't make sense? And she's looking around. She brings the doctor in, and I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And they were like, well, I think it's like a 1 or 2% chance that your embryo can split. And they're like, we have 2 sacs. We've got identical girls here. I'm getting like chills talking about it.
Stop.
And I was like, oh, are you like serious? Like, identical twin girls? Like, I cannot believe it. And they're like, this is why your numbers were so weird in the beginning, because they weren't rising, and then they were like tripling and nobody could really figure it out. And so we left that appointment and, on cloud 9, like, okay, how do we prepare for not
2
one,
girls.
but 2?
Yeah.
Identical girls. Like, I was so excited. And then we went back 2 weeks later and both of them were gone. And that was a lot. Unfortunately, my body thought that I was still pregnant and wouldn't miscarry. So I was growing 2 empty sacs, and I let that go for a little bit until, unfortunately, I had to have a DNC 2 days before Mother's Day.
I'm so sorry.
I'm not gonna cry. Spent Mother's Day on the couch. Our son, was young at the time, not figuring out why mom was on the couch and trying to hold back tears as he's like, bringing his little hand painted picture frame. And it was just hard. And mentally, physically, things again were really hard. And so we went back to our gestational carrier and I said, would you consider this? And Kyle and I were to the point where, like, if this doesn't work, this just might be it. It's been so many years now. And lo and behold, God blessed us, and we have our daughter Lennox. She was born May 10th, 2022 via our carrier, and she just turned 3 last month.
Oh my gosh.
So,
what a journey.
Yeah, that's just the cliff notes of it. It was a long time, but that's why we're so passionate about, during that time we started the Bundle of Joy Fund, where we not only advocate for families going through IVF, but we actually personally grant them through the foundation. And so we've had 100 babies born through the fund.
Oh my gosh, that gives me chills.
Yes.
If you've been following me and my family for a while, then you know I have gone through tons of changes. When it comes to my hair, I have always wanted to be different and I wanted instant gratification. So I got my hair done one time and I had to literally shave my head. I wanted it to grow out and I was struggling. And that's why I use Nutrafol. You may have heard of Nutrafol's hair growth supplements and wondered, do they actually work? Many hair supplements overpromise and underdeliver, but Nutrafol is different. As the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, it's trusted by over 1.5 million people and is clinically tested to deliver real results in just 3 to 6 months. Adding Nutrafol to your routine is easy and no prescription is needed. Order online with free shipping and automated deliveries. Subscribe to save 20% and enjoy perks like one-on-one naturopathic consults and a free Headspace membership to support your hair growth journey. This summer, stop worrying about your hair and start making memories. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code UNLOCKED. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code UNLOCKED. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code UNLOCKED. So what is the cost of one round of IVF?
It's what a lot of people don't realize. One round of IVF can cost upwards of $20,000. And there's no guarantee. It's not like, oh, if that doesn't work, your next round's free.
Exactly, no.
And it's very difficult. And we've tried to advocate for the fact that our military doesn't have coverage. A lot of our police officers, first responders, public school teachers.
Like, how is that possible? Like, I mean, I know that Apple covers it for their employees. Like, so why can we not make sure that our public service men and women at least get that?
That has been my fight. That's been what I've been trying to advocate for and use my voice for. So the day that we had met at the White House, the day before, we got to meet with the team working on the executive order. And they were like, just tell us about the families that you've helped over the past 10 years. And so we did a deep dive and we're like, okay, we went through everybody we've ever funded. Most of them are public school teachers. And not that we pick and choose based on that. It's just the people coming to us because of finances.
Yes.
And then followed by that, it was police officers. And then we were fortunate enough to pick up a clinic right by a military base and quickly learned that either they don't have coverage or if they have semi-coverage, there's only, I believe, 8 facilities in the country that give discounted IVF and the wait lists are insane. And I'm like, you know, here we have brave men and women defending our country, protecting our families' freedoms, and they want to have their own families. And we're like, well, sorry, do you have like $40,000 laying around?
And also, I can only imagine, I would love to see the research into, let's say, these men and women in our military who are struggling to get pregnant. I would love to see the research on how their environment, the PTSD, the everything they've gone through impacts their ability to get pregnant.
And right now, the only bill that there is for coverage for our military is if they sustain a service-related injury that directly impacts their reproductive organs. But you're right, stress plays a huge factor. There's all the logistical nightmares that they have to worry about. And
potential chemicals they're around due to bombs and... Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, if we could do this for our military, think about it. I was telling them, I was like, look at it from a marketing standpoint. Like these women could pay to have their eggs frozen and not have to worry about it. These men and women could do their, you know, have their embryos frozen and wait until it's a good time for them and not have to pick and choose. Like, do I do another tour? Like, do I commit more years or do I leave and do this? It would just give them like a little more peace of mind.
Well, and it's also a very pro-life movement.
Right.
It is a very pro-life movement. And I want to say it's like the first time in decades that we've had a decline in the birth rate.
Yes. And I think, don't get me on my soapbox of like environmental things and things in our food.
I mean, I literally just said that this morning. I was talking to my dad about a good friend of mine, Gunnar Peterson, and his daughter. He's like a big time fitness trainer, but his daughter was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer. And Monroe, I think, is 4 now, but they have all the money in the world, the best nutrition, the best everything. And she still got it. And that tells me that like there is something in the environment.
There has to be. I mean, when we started going through infertility, 1 in 8 couples experienced infertility. That's already switched to 1 in 6 couples, and they're talking soon it'll be 1 in 5. There is a reason that women are experiencing PCOS and endometriosis.
I have endometriosis.
Things at such a higher rate now. I always go back to the fact that, so I was born in 1986. I feel like we were the generation of microwaves, packaged food, diet pop. Like you didn't know back then what you didn't know. And now look at all the health issues that we're having. So yeah, hence the reason I garden. I buy, my son and Kyle went hunting for bison. I have 350 pounds of bison meat in my freezer.
That is amazing.
Yes, like.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, even for me with my endometriosis, like, I saw a fertility doctor, like, with my ex, and I just remember, like, he had his own stuff, I had my own stuff, and just, like, the cost to even freeze your eggs is
I think it's around $10,000.
Yeah, 10 to 15 because of, like, all the drugs you have to buy, and, like, none of this is covered by insurance carriers. And I'm sorry, but these insurance carriers, like, that's what a lot of people don't understand is I have a friend who works on the Hill that's like, Savannah, as a pharmaceutical company, we may sell these insurance carriers a drug for, let's say it's $100. But then the insurance carrier gets a $90 rebate back. So they're really only paying $10. And then the insurance company is raking you over the coal. So it's really it's a lot of times it's less of the government and more of the insurance carrier.
It is just beyond to me how much we charge people for those basic things, like women, and I feel like anything that has to deal with like women's reproductive organs, all that, people are like, I don't want to touch that. But I'm like, women should not have to go undiagnosed with endometriosis and PCOS and thrown on birth control or thrown on whatever they are at a young age. Like we need to look at the root cause. Like, why do so many girls have PCOS? Why are so many people going through this? And then when they do need that care, our insurance should cover that.
Exactly. 100%.
I will say, and I talked about this before, so unfortunately when we had to have a DNC, there was already so much stress going into that day, and I was so upset. And I remember going there, and they handed me the bill, and it was like $5,000 for a 15-minute procedure, right? A procedure I did not want to have.
Exactly.
And I just remember being like, no, we have insurance. And they were like, no, this is with insurance. And I'm like, I felt very blessed that we were able to afford it.
$5,000.
That's so difficult for people to come up with.
Yes.
And I'm like, the hell is my insurance paying for then?
Exactly. I will say, like, one of the doctors that I used to see is in Beverly Hills. And she is absolutely amazing, works with so many different people, but she doesn't take insurance. And the reason she doesn't take insurance is because she refuses to follow the insurance protocol, which is women with endometriosis. The pain is so bad, but guess what? Insurance, their first course of action is, well, you have to prescribe pain medicine. That's why the opioid crisis amongst women with endometriosis is so high, because insurance carriers mandate you prescribe prescription meds. And she's like, I refuse to do that. She's like, I want to get to the root cause. But one surgery was $40,000.
That is insane.
Yeah.
It is insane. And it's insane to me that instead of looking, like you said, at the root cause or providing relief to these women in a real and sustainable way, like we're just going to throw drugs at them. Like, here, just Band-Aid it. Just keep taking this.
Exactly.
That's what they did with us with birth control for PCOS. Like, here you go. This is going to fix it. And I'm like, I spent because I was on it at 15. I had the worst periods and didn't look back until we started, trying to
conceive.
And then from there, didn't realize what a decade of hormones, like synthetic hormones, does to your body. And it's hard. And it's like, I'm so proud I think there's a lot wrong with social media, right? Like there's
Yes,
a lot of negative.
Dear God.
But I think the positive of it is like women have this voice now, and we're able to start educating these younger generations of, hey, ask these questions, try this first, look for the root cause.
Yes, don't be afraid to ask the questions.
To be an advocate for yourself.
Yes.
And I think, you know, that's something that I've learned for myself. I'm coming up on 40 next year, and I'm like, if I could have told my younger self at 25 when we started going through infertility, these things, like, would my journey have been different, you know? So I think about that. But
so what would you say when, like, what would you give one piece of advice to women who are struggling with that infertility process, that whether they've miscarried multiple times or that it's just not happening for them and it seems like it's happening to everyone else around them?
That it does. First and foremost, I talk to a lot of women, and they're afraid to go get tests done. They are almost nervous to know if it's going to be them, and then they're afraid to bring that conversation up, more so like maybe out of embarrassment to their husband. And I think that that's an honest conversation that you have to have. And no, it's not. It's like, any guy really want to go get a sperm sample at a clinic? Probably not, but that information is so vital. And I talk to so many women out there who are like, okay, well, I've been tested, but like, it's got to be me. And I'm like, that's what I thought too. So I think that's first and foremost, is understand the cards that you're dealt, because we played blind for 2 years. And that was so much heartache that probably could have been avoided if I had known these things. Yeah. And then really to reach out to support groups and therapy. Like, I think there's always still this stigma around therapy. I'm like, I love therapy.
I know. And that's what I say. I'm like, I tell people all the time, I'm like, my generation has done a lot of things that are like, but the one thing I feel like my generation's done a great job at is it is normalizing that it's okay to not be okay.
Yes.
And it's okay to get therapy. It's okay to reach out.
And I love that. And, you know, I always tell people, I think you're able to be more vulnerable even with strangers on the internet through a support group when you're going through miscarriage or infertility.
Yes.
For me, my two best friends, they never struggled, and they felt awkward coming to me, and they knew they couldn't relate. And so it was just, they're still my best friends, and they were a great support in other ways. But the connection that you form when you go through something as brutal as a miscarriage, when you're able to talk with other women who have experienced that, you get these like real raw answers and real support that you need in that time. And so for me, that is such a positive of social media, is finding that community.
That's amazing. What are you looking to do now, like within the administration? Obviously, you want to see things happen. What specifically is it that you want to see happen?
I think first and foremost, and I think something that is doable, is to get our military coverage. You know, I think that they have different budgets set aside for different things. I think it's a little bit, I don't want to say the word easier, but then over insurance for the whole country, right?
Yes.
So I think, you know, if we could start that for our military, because I've been speaking with a lot of military wives and just learning that, okay, there's these 8 clinics that afford it at a discounted rate, but some of the wait lists are 36 months. So you're like, what am I going to do at that?
Exactly.
And on top of it, I've spoken with some women, and they said, okay, I was signed up, I was almost ready to get into that clinic, and then we got papers and transferred. And now I'm all the way across the country. That's not feasible for me to go there all the time. So there's another year or two lost. And so I think if we could focus on that to start, then I think when we do that, then we could say, okay, if our military has coverage, surely all of our first responders should have coverage. And then our public teachers.
I mean, even within our military, I mean, obviously they have like hospitals on base. So why not designate a fertility specialist? That will keep taxpayer costs lower to have your own designated facilities. Like, you know, if you want to, there's so many different ways to tackle it.
That's what I think there's a lot of different ways. It's just going to take somebody to really put a plan in place. And I think there's a lot of voices now. So we've been working with a lot of other nonprofits and starting to learn about the military space, because we were not aware. So we had been in this realm for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
We had been helping people all over North and South Carolina, and until we picked up a clinic near a base, had no idea.
Wow.
And it was just so upsetting, you know? Or like we had a gentleman, he was in the Coast Guard for 10 years, and he was like, I had to leave because I have to get a job that pays more so that I can afford this. And so I'm like, even from a retention aspect, like...
Exactly. What would you say is the most touching story you have had?
Oh, gosh. That's a really good question that nobody's ever asked me. You know, one story that sticks with me, and people might think that this is an odd... well, no, I have two.
Okay, let's hear 'em.
One was a gentleman, and he was a police officer. And in his essay, it broke me. He had opened up to some of his buddies about having male infertility. His wife did not have issues, but he did. And he looked at these friends for support, and they turned around and they're like, do you need us to knock up your wife for you? Like, just this brutal, and it broke him, and it hurt me so much reading his application that support and that love and that care that he needed at that time, like I felt his pain in that application that he submitted to us. And I'm not going to lie, that was probably 8 years ago, and it just stuck with me so much. And so that one was really hard. And now, you know, they have multiple children. They're happy. Everything's great.
That's amazing.
I do think as infertility and IVF and all the things gain a voice, there's still this stigma for men that a lot of people don't talk about. And so that one really, really, really stuck with us.
And so how, for people listening, if this is a struggle for them, if they want to submit an application, how do they do that? What's your process?
So right now, to submit an application to the Bundle of Joy Fund, you have to be a patient at one of our approved clinics. And so right now, it's on our website, bundlejoyfund.org. We have 3 big clinics, and then underneath them, through the umbrella, we have about 11 clinics through North and South Carolina, and we're almost to Tennessee. We have one like right on the border.
Okay.
And so if they are patients there, they can apply. Either their nurses or the financial department will, you know, give them the application. So first and foremost, if it's from a financial place, there's that. Secondly, I wrote a book called Fighting Infertility a number of years ago. I give a very like raw and real account into what infertility looks like. Yeah. Not just the doctor's appointments, but how it affects your friendships and your marriage and everything. Yeah. How it affects you, even if you have a child, you know, and how you're still trying to show up and be a great mom, but you're hurting so much on the inside and having to balance that. And so different things like that. And then, honestly, whether it's a fertility therapist or a support group, I could not speak more highly of getting that support, because you need to vent to somebody. And you need that.
You do. That's the only way you get through it. Through any hard thing in life, like surrounding yourself with the right people at the right time. Okay. Well, you also, before we wrap up, you have an exciting project launching, and by the time this comes out, it will have already launched.
Yes. I've tossed around the idea of doing a podcast for probably the last 3 years. As I'm upcoming on 40 next year, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. So I will be launching my podcast, Certified Oversharer.
I love that name. That's amazing.
It's because I've hit that age in my life where I just tell even random strangers like way too much information. And I'm like, but you know what? It's good information.
Yes.
It is information that other women need to hear. And it's very raw and very truthful. And it's not just about infertility. You know, we talk about everything from friendships. I don't know if you've realized this, but like as you get older, making your friends is harder.
Yes, it is. And your friendships start to fall off.
Yes. Quality over quantity.
Yes, quality over quantity, for sure.
So yeah, there's a whole lot of topics we'll cover on there. It's some of it's deep, some of it's fun, and I'm excited. So it's going to be the next chapter.
I love that. Good for you. I will be listening and watching, and we'll put a link to the podcast when this airs. And if you have, are you going to do it on YouTube as well? Like
Yes.
video?
Yeah.
All right. So we'll make sure to like tag everything so people can go and listen. And I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Congratulations on everything.
I'm telling you, there's nothing too big or too small to tackle. And when it comes to DC and it comes to everything you want to do, like I will fight tooth and nail with you, because chances are I'm going to have to go through IVF. So it's like, I already dread that. I already fear that, the cost of it, and for something that's out of my control. So whatever you need, I'm here.
Well, and same to you. When you're going through it, I'm your girl. I
love it.
No question. Ask me anything. I'm actually training right now to be an infertility coach, because I really want women to have those resources and to not be afraid to,
Yes.
or even to tell things that they might be embarrassed by,
Yep.
When it comes to IVF, there's a lot of talk. It's your sex life. It's all these things. And it's hard to navigate and talk about.
Yes.
So I'm an open book. If you need anything, trust me.
I love it. And what's your Instagram for people to go follow you?
At Samantha Bush, and Bush is Busch.
Yes, right?
Because everybody's always like, wait, what?
All right. Well, have a great race weekend.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming.
Appreciate it. Thanks.